as we get into this morning update, or this morning live, I should say, you can see how we've had a bit of fear, a bit of turmoil, but right now we dropped down into, I would say, the overzealous takedown a little bit from the earlier drops because we came back up overnight and then we pulled back down, made a new low. Now we have to see, this could get ugly if it comes farther down, but right now, whoops, we're actually in an area where it's presenting itself a possibility of just having a short, even if it's a minor squeeze up, just to come back into this $2.40-ish area, which I'm going to look at. You know, pretty much the first thing I look at is going to be that 239, 240. See how we react there. But if it doesn't come back up through here and start taking some of these numbers out, you know, some of these levels, because now we've fallen out of this setup. That's up at 245. And that was the speculation, like maybe there's so many different ways you can speculate, but we'll get into all of it as we get going. As you can see, I'm outside. My son has no school today because there's the election things today. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to it anymore. I couldn't care less. But the mayor clause and all this other crap, it's useless and all that. I don't care. So no, I am not voting today because it's a waste of my time. I'd rather do something that actually matters. Let's see. I suppose I'll start with good morning. 10:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan as we continue to build more and more resistance for ourselves. Which, you know, at the end of the day is fine. At the end of the day is fine. But we're trying to figure out what kind of what kind of range we're in. And we don't know the range. The only thing we can do is, like, I like to look at this area because you got the body here from the wick down, and there's where the body meets the wick. So, I mean, you can start to formulate, and that's all I did in the beginning part of this. And then I started to move it out with the pattern, and, like, you can see it becomes interesting if you start to draw it in certain ways, but still knowing, like, there's so many back tests, and, oh, man. It's going to be an interesting day today, which I can only hope that there's some interest today, even though on days like today is generally when the retail person is burned out. Retail's burned. They get burned out. So what that means is you're going to get some hyper volatility. Hyper volatility, because they're going to fuck with them. Or, oh, look at that. I've already swore twice in the beginning of this. Tisk, tisk, Tom. Tisk, tisk. But you could have them come out now because the fear is elevated within the minds of just the general public, retail, to where all of a sudden they're burned out, and all of a sudden they see a price. Let's see what the reversal's been off the bottom. Oh, and market psychology is a real thing, folks. This is the real deal. It's calling up 3.57%. Imagine it comes up and retests here, or better yet, it starts to come up and retest this part of the pattern again, or maybe it ends up somewhere up here and it's up at 6% off the bottom, or 10%. It really starts messing with if you've already got that mindset. So, and then we also got to see in these patterns, like, look at the daily right now. Daily's pushing down on the stochastic. It's validated a death cross. The full movement of that cross hasn't happened, and what I feel like is starting to build here. What? Already? Oh. I guess I could have done my live inside. My son just fell asleep. But then again, it's probably better I'm outside, because then he doesn't have to listen to me ramble on. Plus, I'm starting to like it inside of my little tent. This is my little workout area. But anyhow, but I'm starting to really believe that they're going to fill out that what everybody's calling and I've been calling the devil's wick, because it's hard to believe that they would leave that leverage open. It seems like too good of an opportunity. And now in the daily, though, what I was talking about with the with this transpiring, the dot cross here using the exponential moving averages, it's not just a bearish cross. Like, we legitimately have a bona fide dot cross if you start with the 20-day out to the 200. And what we're trying to see if we get validation now, and this is ugly right now. 20 crossing the 50, 100, 200, and that's your dot cross right here. The 50 is getting very close to starting to give some, so basically the signal of a bearish reversal is with this 20 crossing the 200. Getting validation would be the 50 through the 200 according to me. To get the proper confirmation, you need the 100 to come through the 200. So right now also you've got a daily engulfing to the downside. Pulling back some right now, but this is a pedestrian pullback as of right now. It's going to need to get a lot stronger for us. Like a reversal strong. Otherwise, it's going to keep eyeing this area down here. And I still think that $1.77 to $1.82, even if we don't come all the way out and fill this entire wick, I think we have a great opportunity to possibly fill in there. Now, let's see if we get some strong pullback and then we can reverse the mindset here. If we can reverse the mindset, we could have a little scenario for what? A little short squeeze, but what's the short squeeze? It could be off the bottom 10% and then it just comes right back to 230. You know what I mean? So these are my favorite times to watch these charts. There's so much information that's within these right now. So much information. It starts to validate what's part of this pattern it's going to start to play out of. If there's going to be more pain at the pump. If Bitcoin's going to go to 98K. If Ethereum's going to come down to 2,300, we don't know. But it's not just going to go right there. Or 92K for Bitcoin. 98, yes, but 92 FVG based on Ethereum with the 2,300. But if Bitcoin goes to 98, I think there's a strong case to be made. Like, Ethereum right now is at death's door. I'm telling you right now. If this doesn't pan the right way, Ethereum is legitimately at death's door right now. Because that's a big, massive topping reversal pattern right there, as you can see. Nice head, shoulders, right now, nicely profoundly. Like there's no way to even not look at this and go, uh-oh. Assuming we don't. And that's why the line in the sand is perfect, because we need to make sure we hold this. Shoulder, big head, out to a shoulder, out to support, down below the 200-day now in the daily, which is not good. Now we're being squeezed between the pattern breakout support and the 200-day as resistance. If it stays like this, this is not an ideal close here. Let me just tell you, this would be a horrible close. Stochastic telling us we're still very bearish momentum-wise, and it's broken to oversold, which is also not really a good sign, because now you're probably going to hit the depths of despair for a minute. But there's a lot of information in the chart. Like, going forward, this will be good. Everybody always gets like, I'll have a hard time retaining people's viewership today, I'll imagine. I'm not even looking at any of that. I'm not looking at any of the statistics anymore right now. Not right now. I just got to get my thoughts out. And then the chips will fall where they may. I'll let it lie where they are, I'll just let it play the way it is. But right now, the market is exactly what we want. Chaos. Let's go to the fear and greed index. Yesterday I said when it was at 42, tomorrow you're going to find it in the 20s, low 20s. Oh man, this is what we want. And I said we're going to end up getting I said we're going to find ourselves in extreme fear today. And now, this is when everybody's going to expect a big bounce back. I still think it's not mid-November yet. It's not the second week of November. I still think you get a kick in the, here. I think this is perfectly placed. I like I said yesterday, if I was writing a script to entrap the most amount of uneducated traders, and it's not against anybody, if I'm offending people, I apologize. I was an uneducated trader when I couldn't read the chart. Because I always be like, oh, it's all the news. The news is what's causing this thing. No. The charts dictate when the news is going to come out. It's like a hidden sequence of information. It's like the Fibonacci, and that's not just in technical analysis. You hear them talking about it with the Atlas. It's a universal sequence of numbers. So no matter where you're at in the universe, if you plug in that sequence, supposedly it can be used as a distress signal no matter where you're at, anywhere on this, whatever we're in, whether we're trapped in a globe, whether we're trapped whatever, there's a major universe out there that we, whatever the case may be, that's the universal signal, the Fibonacci. So supposedly the Atlas is using that same sequence of numbers. So with technical analysis, it travels. So if you understand the analysis and you can see the charts, it's like, okay, well, we can see the charts are going to continue down. We know what the sentiment's going to flip to. Now in extreme fear, now we're getting somewhere. We're finally getting somewhere. That jump up to neutral when it went to 41, when we had that pedestrian move where you could tell that it was top heavy with no volume, that told us that people are very, very greedy. Very, very greedy. And we came up to the perfect resistance. XRP came a little over that 265 to almost 272 area. And now we've formulated more and more and more opportunity for liquidity below. And once you start to understand that it's more than just, oh my God, we're at the end of a bull market. We haven't been in a bull market since fucking January in most things. Excuse me, I said it 3 times now. I'm going to get criticized now on Facebook by my friend. He's going to say, Tom, why do you got to swear? I mean, I don't know. I was raised by an Italian household where all they did was swear at each other. I don't know anything else, but I've gotten a lot better. Plus then my parents got divorced when I was like 8, and then my grandpa, when he, God bless his soul, he died when I was in 2001, but he'd be swearing in Italian. Didn't know what was going on. Those are the times, though. You're running around the house and you're like, what? They're all yelling. I know I did something wrong. I don't know what language he's even speaking. I mean, I know it's Italian, but I have no idea what he's saying. I do now. But, let's see. I love how we're creating all this topside liquidity, too. That's what we have untapped. There's no... Just remember, when this falls, find your spots. Like I said yesterday, I condensed so that I can have more of certain things. Oh, there's just... If I'm building this out, if I was building this out, I would build this, I would layer it down again. I would cause the biggest panic. And this should, I mean, we're going to have to take out, remember what I was showing in the beginning of this live, where it's trying to match this up with the liquidity. How far did we come up on that pole? What's the highest we came up today? So overnight we came up here, or yesterday, then overnight we dropped, came down. The lowest we were was $2.23. Back up, which means a good push here should come up to about 240 at the minimum, maybe, if it continues, unless it just snaps us right now. If it snaps us right now, we're gonna come under $2. Well, it could come to like 219 and then reverse, maybe. Oh, I took the brutal spot. This was the brutal rejection area. If it couldn't hold this was the telltale sign. So I drew that in there. Like, it had to do what I drew up to not have this happen. And now you can see the proponent, because now it created the head and shoulder. This is the problem here. Like, this is the whole problem with this pattern. Shoulder, head, shoulder. Like, that's pretty respectable if you look at it from there to around. If it drops out, even if you... Ooh. That's what I mean. Like, we got to make sure, like, this doesn't fall out even farther, because to me, the Bitcoin chart is one of the ugliest charts I've seen in a long time. I wouldn't touch that if I had an extended 35-foot robotic pole. I just wouldn't touch it with the 30-foot pole. Like, I wouldn't touch it with a 100-foot. I wouldn't touch it with a 1,000-foot pole. I wouldn't touch it with Pickle Rick. There. It's a good way not to be so graphic with being graphic. But it's just, we're in an ugly setup, but sometimes ugly setups lead to great opportunity. But Bitcoin right now, that's about as ugly as it's going to come. It's as ugly as it's going to come. And we called out a very early rising wedge that it's still breaking down out of. I just put it to a bigger scale now. But there was a micro rising wedge that caused all of this when it got rejected the last time. And we're still very much filling this entire pattern out. This is something. And the reason why it's something, and I'm going to continue to say this, and it irritates me that Bitcoin did this. When we come through this pattern, and I know I don't have it on here right now, and I don't know why Bitcoin did this to us, but it did. And it did. Oh, it did. When we started coming through here with this, we had a very obvious resistance that started to develop. We have a very obvious part of resistance that it never came back and retested during this entire movement out. That is always, and I mean always, going to be a problem, because that, in essence, was our cup and handle, which means we've never back tested the handle breakout of Bitcoin on that massive move. And we've already filled out my entire market movement for Bitcoin. I've had this out there for so long, my head's going to spin away. But I just never updated the handle because I built it myself, and then it ended up building, and then we just built the extension down, blah, blah, blah. But I never actually built it out again myself. If we actually build this out, it's pretty cool what ends up happening. Like, do I think Bitcoin's coming to 52? Michael Saylor better hope it doesn't. But on this movement, I would hope not. But there's that scenario where, you know, okay, the scenario where everything becomes 1/10 that I talk about of what the pricing was, just like when I used to talk about it in 21. Hey, everybody, the price is going to be 1/10 of what you see now, and everybody laughed at me. And that meant, like, DGB and things were going double zeros, and, you know, XRP was going from literally $2 to the sub 30 and 20, and it ended up getting to 28, and it just meant that things were cutting off 90% of their value, and everybody was like, oh, he's out of his fucking... Again, like, it can happen. It can happen. Do I think it's going to happen in this scenario? Probably not. Not yet. But what could drive something like this to happen and be more likely would be a unexpected rate hike in December. Yes, that would be a problem. Knowing that you need quantitative tightening and rate cuts simultaneously to work. It's going to be quite ironic that they end quantitative tightening and go to easing, and then they raise rates. That means the money that they're printing and borrowing to themselves, and we have to pay back as citizens, they're raising the rates on us as we borrow the money. That would be like you taking out a housing mortgage, and by the time you pay your first payment, your interest rate went up 0.25%, and you're like, wait a minute. I just took this loan out for $100,000 at 3%. I go to make my first payment, and they added 0.25%. What the heck? That's what it's going to be like if they do this. They're going to end quantitative tightening and start printing a boatload of money and raise rates. That would be hilarious. Would I put it past the government? No, I would not. Because what better way to drop the markets, all markets, including gold and silver, crypto, gold, and because gold and silver would be like, what is going on here? They're raising rates. It would take 2 seconds for it to sniff it out. But you could get $100, $200, $300 pullback real quick just because they're raising rates. You know, and the other thing is like, that would completely screw up the equity market. So, I don't know if they have the stones to do this in December, but I guarantee you if they do this, you'd have the quickest rate cut in the history of rate cuts in January. It would be the quickest Uno reversal like you've ever seen. Jerome Powell would give Trump the ammo to fire him. It would cause chaos in the market. Oh, I'm starting to see, like, it's not a black swan event. This would be the white swan event because it's becoming more and more predictable as time goes on. But it's like, what's causing this to all happen? You know, what's going to cause this to happen? But so, I don't know. It's pretty interesting to start watching all of this. But we had some pretty remarkable, push-ups right now. But isn't it crazy? Because yesterday when we were doing this live, like, XRP was still trying to hover around the 240s. Now our bounce back has us bouncing back to 232. It feels kind of pedestrian to me. Like, now the bounce back, algo's barely at 16. IOTA can't even, it's at under 13. This is the exact resistance back test we talked about yesterday to watch out for after that drop stopped. But I wasn't on after it happened. But we talked about this retap area. This is why, even if you want to sell something and you get caught in a big dump, never sell the initial drop. Always sell the back test when it comes in back test, the pattern it broke down out of. It broke down out of this pattern, which means it's back testing this pattern. If it gets rejected, you got to look at the next logical support, which for IOTA would be 1114. Doesn't mean it has to come down there, but it does seem to be building a bull flag like that. That looks like a bull flag. That falling channel almost looks like a flag, especially if you take the wick up. So maybe we don't have to fill the devil's wick, but it does come back down and it validates what almost is like a bull flag setup. I would be able to live with that. If it hits 1114, that's a good load up spot if it's going to hold that area, especially what's going to happen with these charts. The daily time frame and the stochastic also was massively overbought in a lot of these assets. So this drop is what's starting to help it level the playing field in the weekly as well. The weekly's massively oversold, the monthly's catching up now, and the daily's falling quickly. Beautiful. We want one more drop down just as violent as the last. So if we get another 15, probably 15 to 25, that would probably culminate the start of, to a really pleasant reversal. A really pleasant reversal. Like if you see it go down 25% now and you have liquidity on the side, that's when I would be like, okay, this is the time when you got to start doing it. Now, I don't know if we're going to get that opportunity or not, but if I was writing the script, this is where I would drop the noose. Everybody who bought just now is going to be like, oh my God, I clearly bought the bottom. There's no way it can go farther. That's retail's mind right now. It's riddled in the extreme fear part now. And then if it goes down again, imagine we're in the first week of November. Remember what the signal's been the entire time. Mid-November is when we're going to get the majestic reversal. If this just keeps playing out like this, I could not have drawn the script better. Now, could it reverse now? It could. That could have been the bottom, but I'm just looking at it from a psychological standpoint and from a charting perspective and from just what makes the most sense from liquidity standpoint. It's pretty ironic that we're below that diagonal, what was the diagonal support at the 61.8 at 232.8, I believe it was, and now we're below it. I know Scotty Trades probably thinks that's pretty interesting as well. I don't know how many people are in here because I refuse to look. Because all I know is I could be talking everybody off a cliff right now, but it's not. I'm being truthful. We're not talking off a cliff right now. This is good. Even if we reverse now, this is good. But if I'm looking at a loading positioning, I'm looking at this as, okay, everybody's going to come in this morning. They're going to start loading it up right now, saying, okay, we've had this big drop, and they're going to drop their capital. This is the spot where if I wasn't looking at every optic, I would drop all my capital right now. But now it's like, okay, I know. This is generally, we have to have the back test. If it was a 5-wave move down, what would that be considered? Is that still the third, or are we in the fourth? I don't know. But this would be considered, now we're going to come back and retrieve a little bit, and we're going to back test that initial drop down to see if we can validate the continuation. And I think that continuation down is going to move us into a final movement to the downside. And we're going to exhaust ourselves, but not just the fact that we're going to exhaust ourselves with the downward momentum. Retail's also going to be exhausted. They're going to be drained. They're wiped. They've just had enough. I can read it all over the room, especially when I'm reading the comments and stuff. People are just getting tired. I've had so many people now that have been amongst my audience for a long time and a long-term belief in XRP that finally said, I'm done. I've held it for a long time. I didn't take profits. I just would rather be out of it fully. Made a lot of money. And it's like, oh man. Imagine being tired and drained when it's the most exciting times. You've got the treasuries being built. We've got XRPN, XRPNU, XRPNW, which we've talked about. And that's going to be a great investment. Just trying to figure out, I might put in and I know there's the plan with the audience and everybody wants to do what they want to do. And I'm waiting to see what kind of direction we get here. Because we don't know a market sentiment. But I really want to see if this starts to play down a little bit. And it's going to be ever so slightly. This one will be ever so slightly. But you can't really go to the past history because they just flipped into XRPN, which I've tried to explain to my brother as well. Vincenzo. You can't look into their old chart. You have to look at it from the real data. And this is after the merger. Anything before would have been everybody buying this company because it's a SPAC company. So you got to understand, everybody buying this in the past was expecting some kind of great merger with somebody. They didn't know it was going to be Evernorth and it was going to be this XRP Treasury, which I think anybody who bought it back here, they can sell it on this little pump here that it got, obviously, even if they bought it way in the, at the lows. But anybody who bought this, I think they hit a home run because it's tied to the XRP Treasury. So with the SPAC, you can't go back and look at that. You have to look at it for apples to apples. So apples to apples, you got to look at it from the October 30th when it listed as XRPN, when it actually was taken over, and we have this new directive and we understand the venture now. So now you look at the chart for what it is, and what it is to me a chart very much in discovery right now. So I want to see how it reacts when it fills the down. And yeah, these are minor movements on this thing. This thing, you're talking about fractions of a percent. The more volatile one is right here. And again, I want to see what kind of momentum it creates. This one took the up directive right now. But I want to see how it shakes itself out. Like if you go into the past chart, it's going to mess up it's going to mess your mind up because this is before they actually knew what the venture was. That's the problem. So a lot of this is anticipation that something's going to be bought. They're going to acquire something. They're basically a blank check firm. So now I don't know what the repercussions are going forward with this chart because there's not enough evidence of the chart. That's the problem with this chart. So I'm gonna look at it more with the stochastic telling me a little bit that it broke bearish there for a reason. Through the trend, but I don't know. I want to see how this reacts a little bit. And then you've got the warrant based, which moves not as volatilely, but more than the which I'm self-describing the first one that I showed you as more like the stable one of the three. But gotta see this. I want to see how this reacts. But you got to look at it for apples to apples. But since it flipped over, you can see how people are starting to take profit already. It's not a ton of profit, but it almost looks like profit taking has started. So these people that are early investors, they're looking for the opportunity. And this one went up from like 10, 20 cents. So now as it dumps out, it's down about 5% here. This early wick went down about 7.5. I suspect we should melt back in a downward fashion, but who the hell really knows? Who knows, honestly? Dollar's doing its suspected tug back up. First area we talked about was 100.074. This is a big area as it was building what looked like bullish sentiment within the dollar because they're making a last-ditch effort to make the U.S. currency not looking so weak here in the U.S. because there's been an overwhelming transition from U.S. dollars across the world. Looking to Japan and China, they're basically trading on a different currency now, which is pretty scary because everybody says, oh, isn't it going to hurt the world's value if they go off the U.S. dollar? Actually, if they stop using dollars, everybody else's currency across the world, if you're watching and it's weighted against the dollars, it actually goes up in value. Remember, we're importing all of your products, which means we're artificially inflating your supply of goods, making it cost more in your country, the countries that are sending it to us, remember. So if you stop using our dollar-debased system, you're going to have a lot more wealth in your individual country. So root against the dollar, even in your own countries. But right now, the dollars, I mean, it's coming up. The daily's way overbought. We're coming up to this resistance area, which we'll see how we play. It looks like it should still have a little more steam. I can't imagine with the way it's going right now that they're not going to maybe make a play up here even. But it's come right up to where I thought. This is exactly, I had it played out to here and then the rejection and then the further drop, possibly a bigger, much bigger drop, but because that doesn't look very good right now. It looks like we have a minor reversal here that could bring us up into the next layer, but we'll see. If it gets rejected here, it's a problem. Massively overbought in the weekly, which you know what ends up happening here in the stochastic. Daily's just as overbought. So when you start to get these metrics meeting up, it's not technically a good sign. Gold and silver should continue to feel some pain here for a little bit. I've been made no secret about that. I said don't invest in the commodities right now. I talked about the amount of profit I took out, and I have a significant amount still in because I'm waiting for the next reverse. But I'm also not going to tell you, because like I invested at Barrett Mining, for example, 13, 15, and then the last one was at 22. B2 Gold started at 230, last one was at 330, 340. Fortuna was at like 355, 450. Panama, that's the point, 18, 20. But I took what I needed, but I have money set to the side out of those profits for not just XRPN, XRPNW, and XRPNU, but I also have for NOG, which is Northern Oil and Gas. And that's a play that I've been talking about, but we'll talk about more because I don't believe it's bottomed out yet. It does pay a better than 8% dividend, one of the strongest books you're going to find, but I believe there's an assault right now on oil, and it's a strategic one, and this happens every time before a major reversal in oil. So just enjoy this time right now of oil being where it's at. Just enjoy this time. Enjoy it greatly, because this isn't going to be like this forever. And actually, oil should be above the bonds. Because I like to separate... oh, no. No, it shouldn't. Because I like to have oil above gold and silver. So... NOG is going to be a very important one going forward. It's just like when we started talking about commodities in January. Now you got to start talking about black gold, which is oil, and you got to find who is the exploration companies and who are the ones who actually do what they need to do with this stuff. But this is going to end up being, I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time. It's going to end up being very appealing. I hope it's building what I think it's building. Because if it is, it's going to invalidate this entire, well, not the entire structure, but it's going to come down and, well, invalidate this structure, but it's going to come down and it's going to validate this entire movement. We would get a epic, this would be the steal, like what always happens before a great resurgence in oil. Last time it did this was in 2020. It came all the way down to, what was it, $3, $4, $3 and $4 range. And it bounced all the way up to 43. This is what I crave, these kind of movements. It just takes freaking forever to come back down. But I'm going to keep watching that, and you're all going to be up to date on it. So, but let's get off of there before, I push people away. Like I said, Silvercorp Mining and Dolly Varden, I took full everything out of it a little bit ago, just because those are my speculative ones, and I don't hold speculative ones when it has the downturn. Not that I don't like them. Let's see the comments right now. I have no idea how long I've been talking. I have no idea how many people are here. 32 minutes, 154 people. Wow. I appreciate your tenacity, everybody, this morning. Appreciate your tenacity. Yeah, DGB's up 36%. It was up about 85%, I believe, at the top. I've said there's opportunity there. Now, if it's a market cycle where we're going down lower, it's just take profit if that's the case, because it's going to come lower than where it started. Probably by half if this doesn't pan out. Risk reward there with DGB. When it makes these big volatile, almost 1x movements like it did in about a day, if it doesn't hold it, it goes down 50% from where it started. Traditionally, if you go back in its chart. So just always take profit when you have monumental movements very quickly. Even though it's not a monumental 1x there, 85%, but in the environment we're in, it's a good time to transitional profit. Dan Marginal, thanks for being in town for 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Aaron, good morning, and thanks for being in town for 6+ months with the XP Predictor, along with Tango, the Cannabis Podcast, Calvin, Frankie Fresh, Craig Carlson, all in Tom's Army, along with Kat, with 6+ months with the XRP Predictor. And I'm going to go to Kat's comment. Kat, I wanted to show everybody your XRP one you sent me in my email, and for some reason, it just happened to disappear. It happened to disappear. I was trying to share it yesterday, and I was really disappointed that it wasn't there. And Dan Marginal says, God has given us another day. Amen. Don't forget to give thanks to the Lord and Savior, Yahweh, Yeshua, our higher power, God himself, as he is present amongst us in today's actions, as we have the word of the Lord being spoken amongst all, or some. Crazy Paul, welcoming along with Mark Caston. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So Bad. CJ2 Pilot for over 2 years with the XRP 589 Moon Badge. Anna, good morning. Awesome thumbnail picture today, Tom. Thank you, Anna. Anna. I was wondering if anybody liked that picture. Here, it makes it easier if I just go to my gallery. I evolved it a little bit. And then I realized I got to make it horizontal for my thumbnail. So I'm like, make this horizontal. And then it fit it fit perfectly. But I thought that was a really cool, let's just say, evolution of my picture. I've used the same one for a while, so I wanted to evolve it to the circumstances. I really do like that. Thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. I was wondering if anybody liked it or even really noticed. Jerry Clark, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands Badge. And Anna, every time T goes to school, little Tommy, and he doesn't have school today, but his friend Anna, she's like his little, she's the best thing that's happened to him, because he's opened up so much, and he's nonverbal, but he's so much better around people too. But she always walks around, she pesters him. They walked around hand in hand yesterday before school started, all around the playground. But I always think of you every time I talk to her, because she always walks up to me and talks to me and gives me a high five and just asks me a bunch of questions. And then I talk to her mom and dad. Well, one day her mom will be there, one day her dad will be there. Her dad lately. But I always think of you every time I see them in the morning. Jay Fremix, welcome in. Andrew, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens. Says, morning everyone, I've been watching the channel for the past 4 months. And just want to say I appreciate the work you put in. I am learning a lot. Oh, David Mincy, I really appreciate that. He also happens to be the #1 top fan, it says. Which I always forget to talk about that. Thank you so much, Mr. Mincy. That means a lot to me. It says, wish I knew more about it when I first starting out a few months ago. Hey, it's okay, because you're going through the lumps right now. You got to go through it. That's why I always tell everybody, even if you're making a little bit of money, you don't want to quit your day job. You don't want to quit your day job. And right now, I guess my day job would be doing my YouTube channel, but I don't want to quit my day job. Because on minimum, I typically make, and it's always about, it used to be right around $200 to $2,200 a month between ad revenue and the members of Tom's Army. But this month, because of the gifted subs, and it's been very generous, and I appreciate it, we probably closed in closer to $3,000 this month on the station. I know I do a lot of work, and people say it's underpaid and whatever, and I should make people pay for my content. I don't look at it as underpaid. I look at it as it's exactly what it deserves. The pay it forward mentality means you get exactly what you put into it, and then as the percentage of the audience's wealth grows based on what we do, the generosity grows as well, and that's the way I look at it. So so you got to have your little bit of a flow, I suppose. Damon, welcome in, or you should do paid sponsorships and stuff, but I don't know. I'm not doing paid sponsorships. I'd rather just do a free-flowing show. Damon, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens along with Christopher and Scott Lowry. Matt Grimes, good morning. Jan, welcome in, love, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge. And also a very trusted mod in here. Jan's been around for some time here, going through the bear to bowl. So Jan understands very deeply what's going on right now. We're almost at the convulsion stage, I like to call it. This is when all of retail starts convulsing. They don't know what to do. They're buying and selling and running up and down that nobody knows what to do. But this is where you got to stay you got to stay away from your own emotion. This is the most important time of the cycle. The most important time of the cycle. Jan, right now we're looking at this retest to see either at 232.8 in my opinion. Maybe it comes up to 240, but we see if we can push past these areas, and if not, we're probably going to hit 219. And then if that breaks, then I still think that $1.77 to $1.82 is very, very important level to watch here. I really do. I think it's a very important level to watch. Very important. Let's see. Continuing on. If I missed anybody, I apologize. Mosey here, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Omar, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for the second month with the Dust Out of Crypto News. His XRP is trolling me and keeping me in panic mode since yesterday. I'm 90% liquid. Yep. Thanks for being in Tom's Army too, but The best thing to do when you're panicking is if you have profits, let it shake out good or bad, because you can either get the confirmation up so you can reassert yourself into a position, or you can wait until it breaks to the next layer. Cash is your friend right now. The more liquidity you have, the better off you're going to be with whatever shakes out here. Like I said yesterday, I didn't think that was the time to buy. Now, some people might have bought at 223, which was better than yesterday at 234-ish. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. This suggests to be a 5-wave shakedown to the downside, and it seems to only be 3 waves through, so I don't know. Who knows? Because this could be the correct up now. Who really knows? All we can do is keep putting the data out there. And Frankie Fresh, I hope you and Janine are blessed this morning, and that your hand's doing ever so slightly improving. Shane, welcome in along with all the world states. Thanks for being in town for 3+ months with the XP Media. Dash is kicking your Scaracci's, basically, is what Matt Grimes is saying. Did it start reversing? Let me see a couple of things. I was interested to see what two of them, Dash and Zach, what they ended up doing. Ooh. Oh, yeah. It's exactly what I would expect. I warned about all that happening. Let's see what Zach did. See if it could continue through all of this. Ugh. Someone's going to get bent over. Guys, that is so overbought. Someone is going to get taken out to the woodshed. Who knows what level it started at. Maybe it did start at 481. And everybody up there is starting to get taken out to the woodshed. But someone is severely taking a beating. Oh, someone's going to take a beating so bad that they're not going to make it out of this. There's going to be a lot of people that don't make it out of these beatings. Zach and Dash and all these ones that went extremely up. Oh, they're going to take a beating. Eventually, they're going to take a beating. It's part of the way it flows. Mr. Stott, welcome in, and thanks for being in town over 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Hope Mrs. Stott is doing swell as well. Also in Tom's over 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Training with J-Ride, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 4 years with the XRP Phoenix badge. Holy smokes. Holy moly. Hit that like button, he says as well. Don't. And only 2 more likes, so I highly encourage you to listen. Everybody, some people commented on the pickle, Rick. That's so funny. I love it. Louville, welcome in, and thanks for being in town zone for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hand Badge. Oh, yeah. Let's see. All the world stage, yeah, XRP saved me. I then rotated into XCN and got lucky, then into ZBCN. What helped me was the rotation when everything was bad, when we rotated out of our altcoins, when we went to commodities, like the mining stocks. But in crypto, what helped was, remember, we rotated into MXC and it went like 3 to 5x. Rotated into ZBCN and it went several X. Re-rotated back into MXC for 1x. And then finalized it back in ZBC. That's what saved me this entire run. Because I was able to turn profits that I wasn't expecting yet. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. The total 2 chart down 3/4% came right to 912. That was our back test first area. That's incredible. That's the first area we kept talking about. 912, 912, 912. It actually hit 910. Well, that's on the updated now. It should have been all the way down, but you get what I'm saying. 908 it even hit. Now we have to see, but that cross right now, guys, it's looming. If this comes down here, we're going to get a big tug. Like, I drew down 769 across, and it actually came down on the first wick. And now the question is this built a double top here? And are we just swinging ourselves around, and are we going to come down even farther? I don't know. But I can tell you, we really don't want to take that trajectory, because I can see what would happen if we took the worst case trajectory. And this would obviously, you have to highlight what could happen in some of the other assets if we were to have a bigger drop, and see what could bring us there. And in no way am I saying, oh, we're just going to drop out like this and it's over and yada yada. This is the way it goes. Nobody's saying that. This is just, Let's start to see the uptrending part of this pattern, exactly what it's trying to show us. So maybe it is trying to show us some nonsense like this, where it actually comes through. I don't necessarily think it would. How would it be? Came through like that. Or we extend this point out. Maybe I would do that. Maybe I would extend this out to here. Then you can work your way back. I don't necessarily hate that. What does that make it look like, though? Actually, it does make more sense like that, doesn't it? I would argue it makes more sense like that, because then we can get that parabolic spike out of here, just like that. I know it's harder to see in the weekly. Interesting, and I don't even want to finish drawing this out. Oh, this would be epic. At the end of this. This would just be epic. What if alt season we go? Oh, fuck. I don't know if I want to go way down there. Okay, just for the hell of it. What if we come all the way to 636? That cuts off 30... Ooh, you know what? I don't hate that. What if we come to... Huh. What if we did come down here? We can't wait until February, though. What if we just had a big calamity? Like, what if we time it like... What if we did have a drop? And it fell out and we grabbed all that liquidity in that wick. And then pulled through. And then it validated that uptrend from the all-time. And then we've got something almost like a rising wedge possibly building, unless it's a rising triangle. Then we have this push up from 628 to 1.23 trillion, and that's technically our alt season in disguise. But that also means that alt season's going to start down, maybe another third. And then our 10x would be, oh man, that would make it pretty interesting, because then we would have the capital to make this happen. And it wouldn't even have to be an extenuating huge price rising in alts. I don't know if that's going to happen. That's speculation and conjecture at its finest. Monthly has room. I don't know. Let's see if we break through some of these layers. See if we break through some of these layers. So right here, I would pay attention very closely. If we break through the 908 billion, then we'd start having to talk. This is where conjecture starts, and then you start to see it later on, and you're like, ooh, there was an outline. But you have to break through this back test. If we don't break through this, we're fine. You got to break through this to make this happen. Actually, that's too far down. I must have pulled that farther down than it was supposed to be. No, I guess not. I guess it's right where it needs to be. So 891. Falling through. That's interesting. It's interesting what's starting to set up here. This is very interesting when you start to look deeper into this. Let me go to the... Oh no, we're not cooked. It's quite the opposite. If we were to get the short-term exhaustion here now, where everybody's just like, it's over and I'm not investing, it's going to be something more than are we cooked. You're going to have to ask a whole new question if this played out in the way that I can see. If that plays out and we drop another 30%, 25%, and that happens, what I just drew out, I'm telling you, the next drop is the drop. Just like when I talked about being liquid before that last 65% in total drop, this would be the next culmination. If we get to $1.77 to $1.82, open your eyes. If we go sub $2, please open your eyes. You know, make sure that you're paying attention, because look, we got a big M on the pattern right now. It looks like a reversal that we've been talking about. It's showing up in the daily now. And we're starting to get very close to losing the support structure if we come down any farther. So we came up for the obvious resistance. This is the time to pay attention. I seen somebody gifted a sub. Joseph Euler, thanks for not only being in Tom Zone for 6+ months with the XRB predictor, but gifted a sub. How generous. And Emma Blake, congratulations on getting the gifted sub. Your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. And that is my face superimposed on that emoji badge. So, I mean, isn't that interesting? And we know that's the total 3 that we just did. I mean, the total. Wait a minute. Which one did we just do? The total 3. But look at the total. It actually speaks of a similar event happening. Falling outside of what looks to be a rising wedge. If we lose 3.37, we drop to 2.55. That makes sense. This would make sense what we just looked at in the total 3. It makes perfect sense if this were to fall out. Look at these drops, 25, 30%. And then in the others, everything outside of the top 10 cryptocurrencies, we went through this earlier. A drop to 170. And then if you get down to 170, that's 25, 27% from where we're at. Or get down to 168, whatever the case may be. We don't even need to fall out. We could just come back and melt through and fill out this wick in the totals. If we fall through, then you start talking about maybe 130, or maybe worst case, you come down here. But I'm thinking we target a 25 to 30% drop. And if you have capital, this is a very dangerous spot to invest in, only because, yeah, maybe this is the end, but the downside potential and risk is obviously there. If you're a fan of the wick off phases and the accumulation and recumulation and distribution, expansion and contraction and all this good stuff, you know, you'll be very happy with what's coming, because you can start to read between the lines a little bit. So I don't know if it's going to go down to the next layer. We were pretty confident it was coming right here. The next layer, I still feel comfortable waiting it out now. Waiting it out. Just having all this capital on the side that I have, because we made great profit. Great profit on the big dump last time to the push up, and then having our areas where we had it sell us out if we were selling it out. If you want to be part of the copy trade, you can always join TOOBIT. It's in the video description below and our pinned comment. I'm not selling that. I'll add 1,000 every time it comes down 20, 25%. But there's a reason why I'm keeping that open. I promised everybody who was buying the copy trade that I would just keep it open, good or bad, and then we could just do it over time and see what happens down the road. And that's linear. So I'll keep that promise, but everybody has to understand if we do go that route, and it's, you know, it's going to be a dark, slippery slope for a little bit, but not up forever. We're going to just keep buying the poison, and then we'll ride the majestic reversal if and when it happens. But other than that, you know, I got a lot of liquidity to the side. I've got, I don't know, 40, 50,000 right now that I could theoretically, across my exchanges, that I could inject at any point. But I'm waiting for confirmation one way or the other. And I would, if it goes down and makes this last 25% correction, and I'm not asking it, I don't care what it does. I actually prefer for it to go up, because then I could just reassert in the proper spot with the more contracted view. But we got rejected at 104.3 right now. That's a big rejection right now for Bitcoin. That's a magical and majestic rejection. That's the rejection that could get us to 98. So we'll see if that continues. That's a big rejection for Bitcoin right now. So we'll see. It came up there. It tried. It even came over for a second. Like, it came up volatilely to try to break over. And it got smacked at the 20-day here in the smallest of time frames. So we'll see if this continues. Right now, this was a very bad 30-minute candle to the downside, and there's a lot of steam to bring it down. So we'll see if it stays below 104.3. That's a very bad sign that 98's next. I'm just telling you, sometimes trying to buy the dip, you can't buy the dip until the real dip. Remember that phrase. I try to say it all the time. You can't buy the dip till the dip. If I'm sitting here on all this capital and I'm not buying this dip, You know, and my history speaks for itself. I don't care about being burned to the top side. I would rather have to buy back 5 or 10% higher than now buy right here and lose 1/4 of my portfolio that I rebuy in with these assets that I want without the proper validation. I want the proper validation, and because I know 98, 92 is out there, and even further possibly, in good conscience, I can't just give back all of what I just got in that quick time frame. It's the importance of not just having tier 1 exchanges, having the no KYC exchange for the ease of privacy, which is why I always push TOOBIT, even BITUNIX if you want to use it. I use for for IOTA. I use TOOBIT for when I go back into Epic, and when I like to have the algo on there, and Linea's on there for the copy, but it just sits there. So I actually forget that I even own that sometimes until I'm like, oh man, I gotta buy more. So the next time I add to it, it's gonna be between $600 and $1,000 is what I'm gonna add. Right now we have 240 something thousand tokens. I'm trying to get it to, like, if it does this properly and we go down 25%, I'll be able to get it towards 500,000 tokens. Maybe even more by the time it makes the majestic, time for the reversal. So we'll see where it ends up going. But that's this whole market. For everybody who actually listened during this live, you in the right spot. You're in the right spot. I'm not just talking about the community, I'm talking about the people. You're in the right spot with the people who have been here. They've been doing this with me since March of 2021. March 24th of 2021, I started this channel. I've not missed a day here. I don't charge for any of my content. It's the pay it forward mentality. The only thing that you get as a bonus if you're in Tom's Army is you get the Telegram. And that used to be for everybody, but we got so many spammers trying to scam out my audience that we had to put it behind the members only section to give out that link. So it's in there on the members only post on YouTube, and then you can get into the Telegram. It's a majestic environment. If you need to be it's hard in the crypto space because it's hard to be amongst people that are like-minded. Come to this community. We have 487 like-minded members. We have the daily setup for XRP where community members share. We have the community section. I have my content links that I share for YouTube. I have a pager section where I can share stuff where it's not interrupted. And then I like to put it out in the way where you can read it through too. Because I found out that there's some that are hearing impaired in my audience, so I like to do it in that fashion as well. There's a section with calculated and smart leverage with MQT that I very, very highly encourage you guys to go into. I don't want to give away any of the secrets, but that's MQ. That's Scotty Trades in here. If you ever see him, give him some gratitude and give him some of your thanks and good vibes. And then we've got Nick in the technical lounge who does a heck of a lot of work as well. He's our technical advisor. They're both mods in here. And he also teaches a lot of stuff. So very willing to teach. Define's in there. He's our muscle in the group. He gets everything in order, puts out our weekly newsletter. He's basically the overseer. He's second in command, like I like to say. But that's a learning community. This is all inclusive. All positivity over negativity. We have the weekly magazine that you can go through and read. It's awesome. I think it was the 15th edition this week. But it's pretty, or 14th edition. No, yeah, 14th edition. So it's a really nice little area we've created, and it continues to grow each and every day, and we can bounce things off of each other. And the more minds you get together, we can conquer the space, and it becomes pretty seamless when you start to see all the information. You can learn so much. There's no reason to spend hundreds of dollars on fancy courses that don't teach you anything more than you can learn on your own. And I firmly believe if you're good at what you do, especially in this field, when you're doing the technicals, you shouldn't have to charge somebody for your courses. Because usually, you can do a lot better off when you show the generosity and you teach what you know, because when the people that get taught the info they crave, and you go from being, in society, the piss poor people, when you start to grow with knowledge and you gain the proper knowledge and toolage and utilize it from somebody who's teaching you, who's went through it before, and not charging you and doing it at your own pace every single day, you just have to tune in and watch, and it starts to seep in. It takes about 6 to 8 months for it to truly seep in, and people are like, oh my god, it's not a long time. It goes by so quick. This has almost been 5 years now. It's like 4 3/4 years. It's just a blink of the eye. I was when I started this channel, I believe I just turned 38. Or I just turned 37, either 37 or 38. I'm going to be 42 this year, so time goes fast. The point is save your money, and what ends up happening is over time people become gracious, and because you start to build something, so you're willing to pay it forward. I love that motto. Love that motto. And then it also shows you how truly, you know, giving and understanding, and it shows you the truth in a community. The community can speak in many different ways than words. Words are cheap. It's all about actions. So we try to put our money where our mouth is, so to say. But still, with how much we dump down, are we going to get some kind of reversal here? Or is this just going to close down on us? If we just come down here, it's going to be a problem very quickly, because we built out what looks like some possible bear flags here. So I mean, it's got to come up here and not get rejected. If it gets rejected here, it's going to be a very quick pull down here. There's no two ways about this. If these get rejected here, we got a problem. In the short term, I'm surprised, kind of, that it already pulled down that much while we were on. Like, I was thinking maybe it could come up to 240 and we're going to have this, like, little green while I'm on, and then people would get excited and more people would join in. But it's gone the opposite way. But anyhow, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. It's a blessing to have you guys here for an hour. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. We're at just over 47,100 subscribers in the channel. Very much shadow banned, very hard to get the word around, but I am so enamored, so in awe, and so respectful of the fact that so many of you show up day in and day out. So appreciate all of you. Be blessed. We'll be back and do this again soon. I was able to do an update at like 2 a.m. when my son was up. First update video I've done in a while, so if you didn't see that, go check it out. Did a short this morning, and those have been doing rather well. So be blessed, everybody. I can't thank you enough. It's a huge